All right, let's talk about Bitcoin. It's taken an absolute nosedive and everyone is freaking out. But here's the thing. What if this isn't just random chaos? What if, buried in the charts, there's a hidden clue, a breadcrumb trail that could tell us exactly what's coming next? Well, today, we're going to go find it.
So picture this. It's November 2025, and the mood? It's pure fear. Bitcoin, the king of crypto, is in a total freefall. We're talking fortunes being wiped out, and even the most hardcore believers are starting to sweat.
And this quote, man, it just nails the feeling in the air. I mean, just a few weeks ago, it was all optimism, right? To the moon and all that. Now, that's all gone. It's been completely replaced by, you guessed it, extreme fear.
And if you want to put a number on the pain, here it is, a drop of over 25%. We're talking a 25% crash from the all-time high that was just set back in October. That is a brutal, brutal drop, and it's left pretty much everyone reeling.
So that brings us to the big question. The whole reason we're here today. Is this just mindless, chaotic selling, or is there a pattern hiding in plain sight? Is there something that can give us a hint about what's next? All right, let's dive in and start digging for clues.
Okay, first things first. Before we can solve the mystery, we have to survey the crime scene. Let's get the facts straight and understand just how bad this November nosedive really is.
And wow, the damage is extensive. The price absolutely cratered, smashing below that $90,000 mark and wiping out all the gains from this year. Think about that. This also triggered a massive wave of forced selling, liquidations, to the tune of over $19 billion. And maybe most importantly, the big money, the institutions, the ETFs, they've all hit the brakes.
All right, so now that we've seen the damage, it's time to put on our detective hats. We're going to start looking for clues. And the first place any trader, any analyst is going to look, it's the chart. We're hunting for technical signals that can help make sense of all this chaos.
But before we get too deep in the weeds, let's do a super quick refresher on the main characters in this story. You've got your bulls, they're the optimists, betting the price is going to go higher, and then you've got the bears, who think it's all coming down. And right now, well, it's pretty obvious the bears are running the show.
And where do these two sides fight their battles? They fight at these key price levels called support and resistance. Just think of it this way. Support is like a floor. It's a price level where a falling asset tends to stop falling and hopefully bounce. And resistance? That's the ceiling, where a rising price often hits its head and gets pushed back down.
Okay, so this is absolutely crucial. Bitcoin had a really, really important floor, a major support level, right around $96,000. But last week, the price didn't just test it, it smashed right through it. For anyone looking at the charts, that was a gigantic red flag, a huge win for the bears. And that one failure completely redraws the battlefield. The new line in the sand for the bulls is now way down around 83 to 84K. If they can't hold that line, we could seriously be looking at a drop all the way to the 69K zone. And if they want to stage a comeback, well, they've got to break through what looks like a total brick wall of resistance up between 106 and 109K. A tall order, for sure. But you know what? The chart clues are only part of the story. This is where things get really interesting. Because when you stop looking at just the price and start looking at the calendar, you find this weird, almost predictable rhythm to how Bitcoin behaves week after week. See, it's like the Bitcoin market is two totally different animals. During the week, think Tuesday to Thursday, the big institutions are playing. That means lots of money, high liquidity, and generally more stable prices. But then the weekend hits. The big guys clock out, liquidity just dries up, and the market turns into this wild, volatile playground for us retail folks and, of course, the trading bots. And that leads us to this really fascinating pattern that some analysts call the late-week momentum failure. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's when you have this nice bullish momentum building all week, but then it just collapses by the time the market closes on Friday. It's a huge tell that the sellers have wrestled back control right before things get weird on the weekend. And get this isn't just a theory, it's a predictive pattern. If you look at the data, when Friday's close is lower than Thursday's high, there's been more than a 60% chance that Monday's going to be a down day too. That weakness just bleeds right into the start of the next week. Pretty wild, right?
So this whole weekend weakness thing gets even more intense because of another little market quirk. You ever heard of something called a CME gap? It's a really, really important piece of this whole puzzle.
Okay, let me break it down for you. You have the big institutional futures market, the CME, and it closes for the weekend on Friday afternoon. But Bitcoin, it trades 24/7.
So while the CME is sleeping, Bitcoin's price can move up or down. Then on Monday morning when the CME reopens, there's this literal gap on its chart between Friday's close and Monday's open. And here's the crazy part. The market has this weird obsession with going back to fill those gaps. It's like a magnet, often becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy that pulls the price right back to that level.
Okay, so I know what you're thinking. The case for the bears looks pretty rock solid right now, right? But hold on. Every good detective story has a plot twist. And just when it looks like it's game over for the bulls, we find some pretty compelling evidence that they might not be down for the count just yet. And Exhibit A for the bulls comes from one of the biggest Bitcoin bulls on the planet, Michael Saylor and his company, MicroStrategy. I mean, right in the middle of all this fear and panic, what do? They announce they just bought another 8,000 Bitcoin. We're talking a purchase of over $835 million. Now that is what you call buying the dip. It's a massive signal of conviction.
And then, to make things even more confusing, we've got this famously bearish signal that's about to flash on the charts. It has the most metal name ever, the Death Cross. And yeah, it's usually as bad as it sounds. It's when a short-term moving average crosses below a long-term one. And historically, that's supposed to be a sign of doom and gloom ahead.
But here is the most incredible twist in this whole story. For this entire bull run, this so-called death cross has done the complete opposite of what it's supposed to do. I'm not kidding. Every single time it's shown up, it hasn't marked the start of a crash. It's marked the exact bottom of a dip, right before the price ripped higher. How wild is that?
So, where does all of this leave us? We've got incredibly strong evidence pointing in two completely different directions. One suggests a deeper crash, the other, a massive comeback. It's time to lay out the final cases, side by side. Okay, so here it is, the two possible futures for Bitcoin. The bear case. That critical $96,000 support level is broken, the weekend weakness pattern is telling us there's more pain to come, and big picture economic fears are pushing us down, maybe to $69,000. But then you have the bull case. That death cross has actually been a buy signal this whole time, huge institutions are still buying the dip, and maybe, just maybe, filling that CME gap could be the very thing that triggers a bounce and sends us on a path to 160K.
And that brings us to the final question, the one that really matters. After looking at all the clues, the patterns, the signals, the strange countersignals, what are we really watching here? Is this market just following a predictable script that's already been written on the charts? Or is it about to deliver a massive plot twist that absolutely nobody sees coming? Whatever the answer is, it's going to define the next chapter for Bitcoin.